This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Kindness. We see it all around us. We see it when someone pays for someone else's coffee or holds the door open for another person. We see it in the smallest of gestures, like a smile or a kind word. But it's different when we turn on the news or social media. Oftentimes, what we hear about, what outlets are pushing, is the opposite of kind. Welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. Our goal is to give you a place to relax, to revel in stories of people who have received or given kindness, a place to inspire and motivate each and every one of us to practice kindness every day. Hello and welcome everybody to the Kindness Matters podcast. I am your host, Mike Rathbun, and today we're going to talk a little bit about extending kindness to those people who work in professions that really could use it. And I have a fantastic guest to do that with. Her name is Eva ZobianWolf. And welcome to the show, Eva. Did I do it right?
Thank you so very much. You did. You did fantastic.
I might break my arm, but I'm going to pat myself on the shoulder there.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a challenging name.
So happy to have you here. And we talked before the show, and you're down in San Antonio, and we discussed
Correct.
Dirty Nellies and on the Riverwalk, but you're from my part of the originally, right? From my part of the world, up in the upper Midwest.
Yes, I'm originally from Michigan, Kalamazoo,
Wow.
Michigan.
But you're not a Youper.
Not a Youper. I'm a troll.
A troll? A troll? Is that what they call?
Under the bridge.
Oh, oh wait, you're from, well, what's that island?
Mackinac
they have the
Island?
fancy hotel, Mackinac.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I saw it once. We drove over the bridge. That's when you said
Yes.
under the bridge.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
beautiful. I've never been. I've seen the pictures. It looks absolutely
Gorgeous.
stunning.
It is. We actually
now-
did our honeymoon
no-
right there.
What's that? Did
We
you?
did our honeymoon. Mm-hmm. It was
On Mackinac?
fabulous. Well, we stayed
Whoa.
on the south side, on the lower peninsula. We stayed right across
Okay.
the lake from it. And then we took the ferry over and rode our bikes around, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, because you can't have motorized vehicles on Mackinac Island, can you?
No, only the police and the fire department can have vehicles.
And if anybody needs a motorized vehicle, it's them. So
Yes.
yeah, absolutely gorgeous. That's probably on my bucket list somewhere. I'm whittling it down. I got skydiving out of the way. I'm good.
Nice.
I know. 2021. I was going to do it in 2020 for my 60th birthday, but we know how 2020 went. So it got pushed off a year, but I got it. I did it. It was awesome.
Nice.
Now ask me if I'll do it again.
Would you?
I don't know. You know, part of me says, well, you already did it. You can do it again. But why would I want to do that to myself? It was thrilling. It was absolutely fantastic. And, you know, that initial rush when you get out of the airplane. Have you ever been?
I have not. It was on my bucket list, and then I started working in the ER and going to traumas, and ever since then, I turned into a little bit of a safety.
A safe person.
I lend myself more towards the safer side of the world.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Okay, so anyway, now you, as you just alluded to, you started off life as a nurse, right?
Yes, I've been a nurse for over 17 years, worked in the ICU, and I've worked in the hospital setting for over 20 years, but 10 of it was
wow.
as a nurse.
Okay, so, and your specialty was emergency medicine? And is that what?
Well,
Go ahead.
I started out as a phlebotomist, and in that I was part of the code team and in the ER. And then I became a nurse, and I worked in the ICU, and there I was responding to rapid responses, which is when somebody is not doing well and requires an emergency intervention. But also I was on the code team. And so there I went throughout the hospital.
Okay.
And I
So
worked
whenever a patient coded, you were there.
Yeah. And it was
That's
pretty intense.
I was going to say, because, talk about meeting people where they are at their worst point in their life. But they had your smiling face.
Well, I hope I was smiling at that time. It was a challenging period of my life.
Yeah, because, and I mean, because people who do that type of thing, that's a special breed. That's just a whole nother level of human being to do that kind of thing, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I was just volunteering yesterday with a organization, and there's a personality that enters into you when you're in that setting. And we were out in the community yesterday, and there was a situation that occurred, and the person that I was working with, that was part of my team, said something to me, and that personality instantaneously came back. And that was the first time we'd worked together. So it was interesting because she was saying, I wasn't sure if you understood what I was inferring. And as soon as I said one key word, I could see it in your face. You were in that mode. And so it's a personality shift that really, a lot of folks have that, but there's also a defense mechanism that comes with that. And that's where stress, that's where burnout, that's where that jaded personality can also enter into that part of you.
So you can take the girl out of the nursing, but you can't take the nursing out of the girl, huh?
Not at all. Not at all. It's a permanent thing. And I always tell folks, I'm like, and it happens in a lot of different careers too, that once you cross over a certain edge, you're always in that mode in some capacity where you're paying attention and you notice things before other folks do.
Yeah, you go into hyper focus mode.
Yes, that's a great way to refer to it.
Yeah, I would imagine. I have never been in the medical field, and until a couple of years ago, I had never even had a surgery. And it wasn't a couple of years ago. It was longer than that. But yeah, I drove my nurses nuts. I had open heart surgery in 2017. Did I tell you this story? We can
no,
skip this.
No, you did not.
My poor nurses. If any of them are listening to this, if I didn't say it before, I'm sorry. So I was that patient when I had my open heart surgery. If I wanted to get up and pee, I got up and peed. And they tried everything because I had the special slippers on, right?
Yes.
Right. I didn't notice, but I just thought, I have my IV. I can take my little pole and wheel it over to the bathroom. But they tried everything. They moved me into a different room. They put the little clip on so that if I got up, an alarm would go off. Yes. Nothing worked. Yes. I think they sent me home a day early because of that. I was a horrible patient.
No, and the thing is that it's not that you were a horrible patient. It's that you live in a different understanding. And I don't know if it was not expressed to you, the severity of what would happen if you fell, or you just were in a healing mindset and you weren't in the space to be able to listen to them.
I don't know. I slept horribly, so I had barely slept. I was in there for 4 days. I probably got like 6-7 hours of sleep the whole time I was in there. I wasn't eating because the food all tasted horrible to me. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so there were probably a combination of factors that led me to be that that guy, the worst nightmare of every nurse.
And, the thing is that, and multiple situations come to mind as soon as you say that. And each time I always tried to remember, 1, you were sleep deprived. 2, you were in a completely different environment than you're used to. At home, you're completely autonomous. You want to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, you get up and go to the bathroom. You're not connected to a bunch of wires. You're not connected to an IV tube. You just, you get up and go to the bathroom, and it doesn't enter into your mind. So there's lots and lots of ways in that to be kind. And for nurses, that's when it's most challenging, is how do you remain kind? And
with this doorknob.
Well, and I'll tell you, I had one patient 3 days in a row, the whole entire weekend, and every single day, this gentleman was beyond challenging, because I knew if he fell, he was going to do harm to himself, right? And he was totally,
there were going to be consequences.
Right. He wasn't, and he was not completely with it. He was definitely in a altered state of mind because of his illness. And I was challenged by that gentleman the entire weekend. As soon, every week, and we had the little bed alarm on him. And so we'd hear the bed alarm, and I'd be on the other side of the unit, and I'd go running over and try to catch him, make sure that I got to him before he fell. And very last 5 minutes, I was beyond frustrated. I was ready to, if I had seen my boss, I was going to grab my badge and throw it at her and just say, done. Not even a little bit done. Don't let
so done.
Yes, exactly. And so the last 5 minutes, I'm getting ready to leave, and I pick up all my stuff. I'm getting ready to walk out of the unit and clock out. And the nurse that had that patient for the day shift couldn't find anybody. They were super busy. She couldn't find anybody. She just needed to scoot the guy up in bed so that he could eat his breakfast. And so I'm like, fine, right? I'm fine. My stuff down. I go over to help her and lift him up. I'm like, okay, there you go. Be good for your day shift, nurse, today. And clear as a bell, completely with it at this point, the gentleman turns and looks at me and says, "Thank you for taking such good care of me this weekend." And I still can't tell that story and not tear up.
Wow. So he had a sudden moment of lucidity and
I think it was, wow. He had, gotten to that point where he was awake. I don't know, maybe he got some, I don't know what it was, but at that moment he was awake. His family was there. He was reoriented. And I was just like, God bless it. I guess I can't quit my job. I know, right? I'm like, now I can't quit my job because that's exactly the reason why I do this job.
We'll be right back with more of my interview with Eva ZobianWolf. But first, I wanted to mention the Deluxe Edition Network's Podcast of the Month. You can find them at deluxeeditionnetwork.com, Podcast of the Month. And also, take a listen to this clip from one of their featured podcasts.
Hey, this is Ron. Do you like movies?
Hey, this is Ragnar. Y'all like alcohol?
Hey guys, this is Stu. Do you like punishments?
Hey, this is Goot. Do you like cinephiles?
Hey everybody, I'm Chase. Do you guys like alcohol poisoning?
If you like all of that, then check us out at Barrel Aged Flicks. We're on Apple, Spotify, and all the other platforms out there.
Well, now, how long were you actively a nurse?
I still continue as a nurse. I just do it in volunteer capacity now. I worked at a wellness clinic, and I work as medical support for different events. So I still do nursing things, but I don't work at the bedside any longer. And it's been since 2019. I stepped away from the bedside once I started in my yoga journey and started working with clients. I started cutting back on the time that I was at the hospital and eventually switched to doing this full time.
So sounds like you got out just in time, because you probably would be for sure gone at this point.
Oh, well, it would have been incredibly challenging for me. I already was hyper vigilant in how I conducted myself when I got home. Clothes came off in the garage. They went into a separate hamper. My shoes got Lysol. I was super vigilant about what I ate and how, if anybody got sick, we immediately started doing all kinds of things because we have a family member that has zero immune system.
Oh, boy.
And so it would have been absolutely impossible for me to be anywhere near that family member for the entire time of the pandemic.
Oh, for sure. So was the stress, is that what led you on to your yoga journey? Just the need to get away from that?
It kind of was. I didn't know it was, but yes. Originally I started practicing yoga because I have scoliosis and I have an S curve and it creates a lot of imbalance in my body. So I've always been very vigilant in working out and eating healthy and doing movement to maintain balance in my body.
Sure.
I have always wanted to be a yoga teacher, but I thought, well, now who's going to take yoga from somebody that can't bend over and touch their toes a good portion of the time? And it turns out a lot of people.
Thankfully, a lot of people.
Yes. So I started that journey, and I am now of the belief that everybody should do some form of yoga teacher training, regardless of whether you want to practice yoga, regardless of whether you want to teach yoga, because the journey itself of becoming connected with your body, but not just your body, it's becoming connected with your authentic self, your actual self, and learning to be kind to yourself so that you can be kind to others. So when I became a yoga teacher, I started to really notice a lot of changes in me. And over the course of the years, those changes have become more and more intense to where I recognize that who I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, was an incredibly angry, frustrated, I lacked a lot of coping mechanisms. And while I was still a nice person most of the time, my angry version of me came out far more often than the kind version of me did.
Uh-oh, it's angry Eva.
Yes, exactly. So
You're like Bill Bixby in the Hulk. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Exactly. And that's, it's like you start to see red and you're just like, why is this getting to me so much?
Right.
And it's very difficult to be that kind person when you're, and all of that is, it's your relationship with you, right? It's your relationship with how are you thinking in your head? Are you being kind to yourself when you're thinking your thoughts? Or do you say things like, oh my God, I can't believe I was so stupid?
Yeah.
And it's just
for sure.
It's just something really as simple as just changing that around and saying, okay, so learning lesson, not going to do that again.
Yeah. I say that a lot. I don't know why. So, and you practice something called adaptive yoga. Is that correct?
Yes. And so part of that means
I think I can figure out what that is, but I'll let you go ahead and explain it.
Yeah. So one of the things that we like to say is everybody can practice yoga. If you're breathing, you can practice yoga. Because there's actually 8 different segments, 8 different limbs to yoga. the movements are only one limb.
Oh,
So
okay.
part of that is you've got the ethical boundaries, how you interact with yourself and how you interact with others. That's the first two limbs. And then the movements are the third limb. And then breathing, how you move your breath in order to move energy through your body. So we're not just breathing to breathe in and breathe out, but we're breathing to be expansive in our body and to move energetically throughout our whole body.
Okay.
And then being able to bring your awareness from outside to inside. And then concentration, meditation, and something called bliss, where we are just, we're connected with the universe, connected with our spirituality, we're connected with nature, we're connected with happiness, we're connected with joy.
That's cool. Yeah, because and you talk about you focus on stress management, right?
Yes.
So, and that's kind of where this whole working with people who have a lot of stress comes in. And talk to me about the practices. You said you focus on stress management by focusing on using practices through the lens of kindness, compassion, and non-judgment. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So coming back to the 8 limbs, how you interact with yourself, kindness, compassion, non-judgment. So how we're moving in our body, how we're moving throughout our day, how we're using our breath, it's not about being able to do the perfect yoga posture and not fall out of it, but instead it's how do we move through our day? How do we do the things that we do in our daily life, including more movement? And that can include the postures, or that can include walking, running, riding our bike, and using things like kindness, compassion, and non-judgment. So this morning, getting up and being really tired, a way that I can be kind to myself is bringing my laptop into a cozy space, cuddling up with a blanket and a cup of coffee and working in that space for a while until I'm more awake. And we don't think of that as a yoga. We don't think of that as self-care.
Yeah.
But things like that, that's how we be kind to ourselves. That's how we be compassionate to ourselves. And then instead of saying, oh, I'm just being lazy this morning, reframing that.
Because we all have that voice in our heads, right?
Exactly. And instead reframing it and saying, I'm taking care of myself this morning. I'm listening to my body this morning.
Nice.
So then when you're more energetic, then you're doing things like, I went for a walk outside, I went for a run, I went for a bike ride, or I ran my errands. And how we interact with ourselves is reflected in how we interact with others as well, too.
Oh, that's very true. Because if you're not kind to yourself, it's almost guaranteed you're not going to be kind to other people.
It's very different. Yes, absolutely. Because you hear people say all the time, do things that fill your cup, right? And if you think of my cup is only a quarter full because I'm only doing things for myself when my body shuts down and not when I need to, not on a regular basis, then what I have is a quarter filled cup. And that means that when I'm interacting with others, I only have the reserves of that quarter cup to be able to interact with others, to be able to help others. But if I'm taking care of myself and I'm doing things, eating healthy, moving frequently, doing things that make me feel energized and fill my cup, then I've got 100 or 80% in my cup. And now I've got more to draw from when I'm out interacting with others.
Sure. Absolutely. That's cool. Now, do you work with? I know you really like to work with people who are in high stress position. Do you work with like first responders and stuff like that?
I do. Yes, absolutely. And it's challenging for a lot of folks, especially since the pandemic.
Sure.
Especially for folks they were already the high stress careers. In the last few years, that stress level has gotten so much higher. And luckily, we're now in a space where people are recognizing that, and we're starting to do things where it's not just the individual seeking help and seeking resources. Now we've got the bigger organizations that are saying, we should be doing this on a regular basis. And so I work with veterans and first responders with PTSD. I work with people that have mobility challenges for whatever reason, whether it's just through I've been leading a very sedentary life, or it's that I've been leading a very high stress life and I haven't been doing a lot of movement in my body, and now everything is just kind of shrink wrapped down and I'm really tight. And then, that leads to its own issues.
Sure.
So there's lots of different ways that, movement and breath can be helpful and be brought into just the things that you're doing on a regular basis.
So running in circles and jumping to conclusions, that doesn't really count as movement, I'm guessing?
Well, no, not really. Running in circles, yes, but the jumping to conclusions, not so much.
Figuratively running in circles. Yeah. And it's something, as I age and I hear about yoga and how good it is for so many different things, your balance and what have you, and probably balance as in I can stand on one foot as well as other forms of balance. But I never gotten around to trying it. But if I do, I want to do puppy yoga.
Yes, absolutely. I love that that's being incorporated. And there's a lot of folks that are just like, that's not real yoga. And I'm like, who cares? Get people to do yoga and have fun and enjoy life. Like, that's right? The point, right? Yes.
I saw a video the other day with pugs. Pug
so cute.
Puppy yoga.
Pug puppy yoga would be amazing. I mean, talk about just being joyful and just having like all of that fun, interaction with the puppy while you're in your own downward dog, or just, laying on your back and enjoying puppy kisses.
And there are so many different types of yoga. There's laughter yoga and heat yoga and all these other kinds. Is there any one kind in particular that you prefer?
Actually, I try to draw.
Or do they all serve different purpose? I'm sorry.
No, it's there's a lot of different types of yoga, and one of the benefits of doing adaptive yoga is I can draw from all of the different lineages of yoga, based off of if I'm teaching a class, what the class, what's the purpose of the class, or if I'm working with an individual, what does that individual need at that moment? So I'm drawing from a lot of different types of yoga, using laughter yoga, using a meditation called Yoga Nidra, which is this 20 to 30 minute meditation where you're guided, and it's helping you go into this yogic sleep where you're in the same brainwave activity as when you are sleeping. So when you're feeling incredibly tired, one of the things that you can do is you can listen to a Yoga Nidra meditation during the day, and it's super restorative. So you're getting that brainwave activity, you're getting that healing component of that particular brainwave, you're getting that restfulness component, and then that helps you be more energetic. So I've got a link to that. I'll share that with you. I've got a link to a meditation that I recorded, and it's on my YouTube.
Oh, nice. And I should mention that we are going to have all of your links in the show notes. If you want to reach out to Eva, you feel free. We'll have everything available there. So now I have to come to the point where I have to ask you, what are your plans for 2024?
2024, I am working to help nurses not be so stressed out, overwhelmed, and suffering. So one of the things that I have is, because I'm a yoga therapist, I use group yoga therapy sessions. I have one that's specifically designed for nurses and also anybody that's in a really high stress environment. For nurses, there's nursing continuing education that's incorporated into the program. So not only do they get the stress management, but they also get some nursing CEUs as well. And that's a 12-week course that I offer. It's a 12-week online and group yoga therapy combination.
Fantastic. Whoa, yes. That's exciting.
Yeah, so I'll be doing my next event in January for that.
Oh, whenabouts in January?
Will
you have a link to it?
I will. There's a 3-day workshop that also offers CEUs that'll be happening January 15th.
Nice. We'll make sure this comes out before then. We can plug that.
That would be awesome.
Now, is yoga available to do, like, could I join one of your classes remotely, or is it just better in person?
No, I actually do the majority of my work online. So I do smaller group therapy, group cohorts. I have one that's going to be happening before this airs, and that one is Happy Hips. And it's a 3-week course, and it's all done online. It's another group yoga therapy. And I do things periodically like that, where I have one on hips, one on sleep, and one on healthy aging. So if you wanted to join any one of those, you're welcome to join.
Why are you going to call me out like that, Eva?
It's the nurses that you were in the hospital. They contacted me and said to make sure that.
Yikes! I was afraid of that. I know that the sisterhood of the nurses is strong,
right?
You got connections all over the place.
Absolutely.
Well, I so appreciate your time today, Eva. I really do. This is such great information, and gosh, I wish you all the success in the world going forward.
Thank you so very much. I love that you're doing this podcast. This is just fantastic. The world needs so much more kindness everywhere.
I will not disagree with you on that. Thank you so much, and we will be in touch.
Outstanding. Thanks so much, Mike.
It was so much fun to have Eva ZobianWolf on my show today. What a lovely person, and what great work she's doing through her yoga for first responders and nurses and even vets with PTSD. And it's such a wonderful thing, and I'm so happy that I could have her on and showcase her unique ability, and it's just great. Don't forget to check the show notes for all of Eva's links, and check out what she's got coming up here in January. I think somebody should find that rewarding and necessary and useful, and maybe it's you. And that will do it for this episode of the Kindness Matters podcast. Thank you so much for the gift of your time, and we will have a new episode coming up in about a week. But until then, be that person who roots for others, who tells a stranger they look amazing, and encourages others to believe in themselves and their dreams. You've been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathbun. Have a fantastic week.